Morning team. Today we will discuss PCI DSS scenario based questions. Here's the question number one. A vendor is receiving cardholder data or sensitive authentication data accidentally via an unintended channel, unauthorized channel. What would be your take here? Do you ignore the path because this is not the main channel of your operation? So here the question is saying, guys, there are some data, say cardholder data, received by abnormal channel that was not the appropriate channel which was defined in the scope. That was completely a different one. So interviewer has he is asking that what would you take? Do you ignore the path just because that path is not the approved way of collecting the data? So the answer is, since that receiving path is not approved, so there could be some occurrences where an entity receive cardholder data or sensitive authentication data unsolicited via an insecure communication channel that was not intended for the purpose of receiving sensitive data. In this situation, the entity can choose either. So there are two options here. First option is include the channel in the scope of their cardholder environment and secure it according to the PCI, right? And second is securely deleting the data and implement measures to prevent the channel from being used in the future for sending such data. So what PCI DSS is saying, guys, they are saying that you have two options. Either secure the path and include in the scope, and second is delete that path permanently so that you didn't receive any data from that path in future. So there are two options here. Here's the question number two. What is the difference between encryptions and crypto? Very normal, but still some candidates are, the definition is very confusing. So it's better to discuss here. So cryptography, if we can say it is a big subject, big technology, and encryption is one method inside crypto. It is exactly same. If a cryptography is a complete system of a house, then encryption is a lock on the load. So encryption is a small part of the crypto, and encryption is only the one part of the crypto we all already discussed. So the crypto is about protecting information using techniques. So cryptography consists of encryptions part, decryptions part, hashing parts, digital signatures parts, key management, authentication. So the goal of crypto is confidentiality, integrity, authentication, and non-repudiation. But if we talk about only the encryptions part, it is a process that converts readable data into unreadable format. Example, you have a password of 123. Encrypt method will encrypt in such a way that no one can read it until you have a correct key. So, crypto provides confidentiality and integrity, while encryption provides only the confidentiality part, right? So this is the main differences between crypto and encryptions. Here's the question number three. This part I was talking about, and encryption especially focuses mainly on the confidentiality part. Okay. Here's the question number three. Question number three is saying that, let me just zoom out this screen. Okay. If a vendor is receiving cardholder data in encrypted format and vendor is only passing the data to other vendor without accessing, does PCI is applicable to a vendor? So this question is very intellectual, where auditor is asking that a vendor is collecting the data, but he is not reading it. He is not either storing or processing. Vendor is collecting the data, but at the same time he passing it to the other vendor without reading it, and that data is receiving by the vendor in encrypted format. So PCI DSS is still applicable to that vendor. Why? Because if an entity stores, processes, or transmits or can impact the security of the cardholder data, it falls under the scope of it. So the important point here, PCI DSS scopes depends on either vendor can access CSD, um, can the vendor decrypt it, or does the system transmit CSD, and can the vendor system impact CSD part? Since in this example, vendor only passes encryption data, cannot decrypt. So vendor acts like a network, a relay, where no decryption key available, data only passing through securely. That's why PCI DSS may still apply here because they transmit the CHD data. They are relaying the data, right? They are forwarding the data, so their system can impact the security of a transmission. So scope, there is a high possibility of scope of this vendor. This question is very important. So coming to the question number 4, an independent firm is responsible to provide the PCI DSS of a company. Does firm also comes under scope of PCI? If yes, what level of assessment applicable to the firm? Very important because nowadays every banks or BFSI sector is trying to conducting audit from the like Deloitte and PwC, but they are not actually in the PCI DSS domain. So does PCI DSS is applicable for Big Four? Because they are only performing the audit. They are not a part of the operations part. So the PCI DSS is saying if auditor is using their laptop and collecting evidences, conducting CSD data, SAQ is applicable and the auditor's laptop is in the scope, not while organization. Because auditor's laptop is the end user devices who is collecting the data, CSD data and SAQ data. So organization doesn't require to certify, but organization to ensure that auditor's laptop should be in scope and few controls required to deploy over that laptop. Like what are the controls, guys? Like laptops should be encrypted format, right? Monitoring and logging part, right? Uh, that laptop should not be accessible to other etc. Like we have ISO controls, so ISO controls like encryption level and all would be applicable here. Here the next question, if a vendor is providing the card holder data support only in scope system components and CSD environment to access by the QSA or the whole company environment. So if I decode this question here, right? Does QSA to audit only in scope system components or to audit the whole organization? So only the in scope system components are connected to CD in environment need to assess, not the vendor's entire company environment. It doesn't mean that we are ignoring the entire environment uh, because ultimately, all the devices are indirectly connected to CSD data. However, they can impact if some ransomware happen or some other mishappening happens, they can impact the PCI DSS zone also. So only in scope system components need to assess by QSA, but at the same time, they can also a cursory review for the rest of the environment. This question very important. Here's the question number 6. Does firms who audit the company provides PCI DSS certificates? The answer is no. Usually the audit firms itself does not directly issue a PCI DSS certificate like ISO does. But in this case, guys, what does QSA provides? After successful assessment, the QSA generally provides full assessment reports. What are the reports? We have ROC report, we have AOC reports. These documents confirm that scope is assessed, requirements tested and compliance status. So the AOC is the closest thing of a PCI DSS certificate. The final acceptance usually come from the acquiring bank and payments brand like Visa, Master, American. If a company is eligible for SAQ, then no QSA certificate is mandatory. Company filled SAQ itself and company and sometimes approved scanning vendors also require scan report also requires it and bank review and accepted. So in this case also no formal certificate issued. So if I summarize all these answers, guys, right? Firms doesn't provide the PCI DSS certificate. They provide the assurance certificates. They provide the attestation on compliance or attestation of compliance. They provide the report on the compliances, not the certificate, not the guaranteed, like ISO did. Here's the question number 7. What are the approaches for implementing and validating PCI? So we will try to discuss with a chart here. Okay. So there are two channels of PCI DSS validation approaches. Number one is a defined validation. What happens in the defined one, right side, I am talking about. So entity implements control as per the PCI DSS requirement. So there are already predefined controls. So company is performing as per the defined validation. Means organization is 100% following the processes and all. But if I can talk about the customized validation, so what happened in the customized validation, guys? Entity designs and implements control that meets the objective of the PCI DSS requirement. Entity documents their customized controls and how it meets the requirement objectives. Assessors need to derive testing procedures, including what to be reviewed, what are the evidence required to be collected, to be examined and observing interviews, etc. And then we can go for the ROC template. So what this chart is actually saying that assessors have two options. Number one, if organization is 100% compliant. Second case, sometimes organization to implement the compensating controls, and compensating controls may be comes under the customized validation. So in compensating controls, it's QSA responsibilities to derive the solutions, what evidences to review. So compensating controls comes under the customization validations part here. And at the last, once you assessed, you can go for the ROC template, and then we can go for the AOC template. Same process we can apply. We need to apply for defined validation part also. So this is the image I copied from the PCI DSS official document. Okay. So we are supporting candidates for below standards and frameworks. We are providing ISO 27001. We are providing third-party risk management trainings. We are providing PCI DSS trainings. We are providing data privacy. We are providing SOC 1, SOC 2, implementation of ISO 27001 and TPRM on the Archer. Also, we are supporting interview preparation and tips here. One-on-one trainings we are providing if you need support, because we understand that every candidates have different catching power. So we are cooperating with respect to your requirement. We are not considering candidates in a batch form. We are considering only one-on-one for weak candidates, and those candidates who are shy, and for those special candidates we are providing one-on-one. So a lot of flexibility here. If you are interested for these trainings, then drop an email to grcdecode@gmail.com, or you can call me on 9015997199. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.